See that stop spinning. Hey, we are live on the SideQuest Friday evening, March 19th. Wow, that was horrible.
You've been practicing.
I've been practicing Saturday Night Live, Friday Night SideQuest. I'm Dolly Demovsky, your musical guest, Taylor Bliss.
Yes.
And also joining us, special guest star, Whitney Mears.
Hi, everybody.
I'm not going to do that. I'm stopping with the fake my radio voice. Hello on a wonderful Friday night to two of the coolest. I'm so glad we got rid of JJ and Zach and
Aaron.
Just Aaron and
the worst.
Sam, to the coolest folks out there. So no, it's awesome to have the both of you on the show tonight. How are you?
I'm good.
I am doing lovely. Before all this, we figured out Taylor and I are neighbors, kind of.
Yeah.
So close.
Cool.
Stone's throw away, as they say. A stone's throw away.
yeah, exactly.
Well, it is awesome to have you on this wonderful Friday evening. It is the last Friday of winter because tomorrow is spring. Oh, it's so nice. Tomorrow is spring.
I just hope it feels like it's spring.
I mean, we. It was supposed to be a lot warmer until I feel like they revised the weather a little bit down, but it's still supposed to hit 60 tomorrow or above 60.
I mean, if I can't wear shorts outside, it's too cold for me. So.
I mean, you wearing shorts outside is 100% a personal choice, regardless of what temperature it is. You know what I mean?
That's fair. 61
degrees, at least by me, and on this side of the Hudson River. So
I'll allow it.
So I am 55 tomorrow. Well, not maybe age-wise. Here's what I feel like.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Temperature-wise, it's 55 tomorrow, and then 61. I get 64 on Monday over here in this.
64.
Nice. I like it. That's getting there. 70 is the perfect. Once it's 70, that's should just
I think we got a few more weeks for that one, unfortunately.
We'll see. I'm going to mine enough Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we'll get the global temperature up. But let's talk about video games and not the weather, because the Weather Channel stopped sponsoring us, unfortunately, because they never did in the first place. But it's so awesome to chat with the both of you. We will get into what you've been playing and all that kind of stuff. We usually start with news, but there was a ton of news. Before we do that, though, I want to just say hi to Whitney. It's your first time on the show in like a decade, probably, I think. So it's awesome to have you on, Whitney.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. It just brings up so many lovely memories still.
So for those that are watching or listening, Whitney was one of the, I think Whitney and I and Doug, I think we met that year too, and Ryan Gann. We were like the first few contributors for SideQuesting here and there. We just did like little pieces. I think I still have a couple of your pieces like bubble up every once in a while. There'll be like a strange comment, a spam comment will pop up on something that you wrote back in the day. But we go ways back, and you have done awesome in the games industry and the things you're doing within New York City and the circle, the games. What's it called?
New York Video Game Critics Circle. Yeah,
it's so awesome. Tell me what you've been up to. Tell us all you've been up to.
Oh, it's a whole lot of that. I write a lot. I've been working with the Critics Circle. It's a really awesome organization. A woman named Jill Shar, who was a writer on Destiny, had sort of let me know about it, and she suggested I join, and I reached out to Harold, and Harold's a game journalist. He's written books and all that kind of stuff. And actually, one of the board members is Reggie Fils-Aimé. So
Reggie's great. Yeah. Harold's awesome too. But
it's just crazy because like I was doing some social media work for the Game Awards, and I'm like here CC'd on emails with Reggie and every single word, because like I'm trying to do marketing, and I'm just like, what's he gonna think? He is actually the nicest human, and his feedback was always point. Like it was so good. You're just, oh gosh, I can't believe none of us thought of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it was really fantastic to have an opportunity to work with him. Although I bet if you ask him, just like, Whitney Mears is, he's like, who?
and you mentioned you mean obviously you've been writing and stuff. You have, I think I've how many copies of your magazines have I purchased that have been floating around? You've actually helped kind of edit some let's see, you did, was it an Apex one that you had? Or is
I
it the
wish it were
Fortnite?
Apex. I hope they do an Apex one.
Yeah,
If they
hopefully
if they don't
hopefully,
call me to do the Apex one, I will
right,
be
right.
heartbroken.
Yeah, I
But
know. You're the one you're the person that I look at for my Apex tips because your posts on Apex Legends, and I just started playing it, so I am an Apex green baby on that right now. So I look towards
we are
you for
definitely
your
it's
stuff. Yeah.
crossplay. We will play some Apex
Yes,
together
yes, yes,
for
yes.
sure.
But you actually have a few things that have been out on newsstands, which to me that's like
Yeah.
always the coolest thing.
Yeah, I have so I did this thing. I actually have it right here. If you wait 2 seconds, I'm gonna grab and just show it off really quickly. Hang on.
She's way more accomplished than you and I ever will be together.
Well, I was gonna say. I mean, I think I officially retired from games writing in 2015. So it's the most successful thing I ever did was write the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 review on SideQuesting.com. I think that's my.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, cool.
Wow.
There's the Fortnite magazine. I have it. Yep.
I think I have the unframed someone, but it might be in a closet someplace. But you can actually see it's Fortnite, and we did the Fortnite 40. Here, I'm trying to like hold it up.
That is so
There's
cool.
like a little bit of glare.
That's so cool.
But I actually interviewed all those people on there, including the Ninja, Myth, Pokimane is on there, Cypher, and these are all people who still have huge careers, even if they're not even still playing Fortnite. You know,
True.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them pivoted to Valorant.
Yeah.
If we're gonna use streamer talk, although
streamer talk.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I spend a lot of time on Twitch, just not as much as some people. I wouldn't exactly. I feel like I definitely know more than an average person, but not as much as an aficionado.
So you've been involved with a lot of stuff over there. You've been publishing things, and it's so cool to have you on the show with us today. I think it's always great to get more people, more voices, and more backgrounds on here. So it's good. I look forward to this good conversation tonight. So yeah, very cool stuff. And where can we find you, by the way, if people want to look for you? Because you actually have your streaming, your Twitch stuff set up, and you have your Twitter. So give us those tips right now for the people that are just joining us.
Sure. So I stream under the name Lumbago on Twitch, but it's Lumbago. Okay, so it's from a joke of Red Dead Redemption. If you ever played the game, you remember Uncle. He would always, his back would hurt. I can't do it today. I got Lumbago, right? And it was just funny. It was like a through line because like he was really just didn't want to do work and he just kept saying he had lumbago or that it was hurting him. It was like a kind of ongoing joke. Anyway, I had these back issues, so I've gone by lumbago, but lumbago is spelled BAE because I thought that was cute. But then the E is with the 3.
The E is the 3, yeah.
So that's where that came from. And then on Twitter, I'm just Whitney Mears. So a lot simpler. Instagram as well.
Let me post I'm going to post a link right there so people can find you on Twitch there. There we go. Save and show. There we go. That's what it is. Yeah. Check her out. And yeah, at Whitney Mears on Twitter. Very cool. And we've chatted in, several times before. So, we got a bunch of people are hopping on right now. A lot of our viewers and listeners and stuff. Hey, how's it going, Playland? Stefan. Let's dive into a little bit of the news first, because it was a quieter week last week. Not so much this week. I think every day there seemed to be a bunch of stuff happening. I was hoping it's going to be a slow week, so I didn't have to do a lot of writing and I could actually enjoy my time with video games. But no, here I was bashing away at the keyboard. I'm going to dive in with a couple stories here that I thought were kind of interesting. The first and foremost was that Xbox is killing it right now with everything that they're putting on Game Pass. I mean, it was a heck of a week if you're just someone looking for great deals on video games, because obviously Game Pass right now is on Xbox services and PC.
They have figured out that people actually are buying it and that it's worthwhile, and they have convinced other publishers the same.
Completely.
It's worth every penny, and they really are doing a great job too, because I have it for Xbox, right? And I barely really even play Xbox at this point because I have a gaming PC, but then I also have the Game Pass for PC that I do play and just download, different games and just, give them a little run through and things like that. So you get it really just is a great trade-off, right? You're getting a cycle of content that you can just kind of play whichever games, pick and choose what you want, but you also don't have to put the investment into, $60 if you're going to buy the DLCs. It might be $80 or $100 for whatever game you're playing. So it doesn't surprise me in a bit. And I guess other companies are trying to do the same model, but not as successfully.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think that they have a good thing going on there for sure.
So last Friday, obviously, all the 20 Bethesda games showed up, which was awesome. This week they announced that Undertale and Outriders on day one is going to be appearing. So that's April 1st
for console.
For console, yeah. Now you loved I think you and Corey and Zach were all playing it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty good time. It's actually too bad that it's console only, because I would have probably done it in an instant on PC. It was one of those things where I had a decent time with the demo, and I think that what they did with the demo was really cool. It didn't grab me like I think it will a lot of people, but that's just me. I think aging, to say quote unquote aging out of certain game types over time. But that being said, I'll be watching it and waiting to see how reviews do. But yeah, Outriders is going to be, for console, is going to be a huge draw. It's going to be a big name drop once it releases.
And I'm pretty I'm really looking forward to that game. I wasn't sure if I was going to buy it or not, only because I just picked up Avengers the other day, and which also had news this week. They kind of showcased all their next gen upgrade stuff and their kind of roadmap, including the Hawkeye stuff, and Black Panther will be in that too.
And delayed Spider-Man.
Yes, and they're delaying Spider-Man till later in the year. I didn't realize that was still going to make it, but good for them.
Yeah.
But Outriders looked really interesting. It looked like a really kind of a cool idea, a cool spin on the whole games as a service style of experience. So now I get to do it for what I'm already paying, and I just re-upped my my Game Pass for another 4 months. So I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Octopath Traveler. For a lot of people that didn't know that, I talked about Octopath Traveler all the time for like 6 months straight, because that game is so long. It took me forever to beat, and I'm an older person fighting for minutes of my day to play the video game, so I talk about that far too much. But that's showing up there. Nier Automata is showing up there, so there's a ton popping in. Like, we got a bunch of folks showing up. Voice
and not just that, not just is Nier Automata making it
Automata, I call it Automata. Automata is correct.
But it's also a revised version where they optimize the PC port. So one of the big, as much of a critical hit Nier Automata was when it released in 2017, one of the big things is that, shortly after it was ported to PC, and that people on PC were really happy about that, because usually they don't get to see PS4 style games that come over to PC fast. But the port was fine, but not great. There was full screen borderless issues, there was FPS issues, there was crash issues, and a lot of them had to be modded in order to be fixed. Those are accounted for in the version that's going to be on Game Pass, but you will not find those versions, those fixes, on the Steam version. So it's creating this weird fork, and that's because there was a specific port company that did this version, and I'm sorry that I don't have it that company up right now, so that I can drop it. I should have that ready. But
what were you doing? Why did you
I know. I'm truly terrible. But another game that's coming to Game Pass as part of the Bethesda is The Evil Within, which is getting a very similar treatment. It also has optimizations that were not found in other PC ports. So Game Pass is doing another really interesting thing, which is, I would love to know the details on this, and somebody that actually interviews actually does work in the space. Well, I'm sure maybe one day we'll figure this out. But what is Microsoft doing on the inside to change the way that some of these PC ports are happening? Because these aren't just the versions that are hitting other platforms. And Nier Automata has been on PC for for over 3 years, and yet it's still somehow different and more optimized and has more options than any other versions do. It's interesting.
Yeah, let me switch us there. That way, when I list some of these comments, it doesn't cover you up. But the voice says personal belief is that just let crossplay be completed, over and done with. I tend to get tired of exclusives at some point, segregating gamers to buy specific consoles, build PCs. We're all gamers. What's interesting is that at this point with Game Pass, I mean, it's becoming the Netflix of games, right? I mean, that's really what it's democratizing. That's kind of cool.
And that's what Phil Spencer's been all about for a while. I mean, that's the reason why I think that if you match up what he said publicly and what Game Pass has been doing over the last 2 years, in the time that it was in beta versus the formal release, it definitely feels like, I'm not saying that it's all him. Obviously, Microsoft is a huge company, and so is Xbox. But it certainly feels like it based on what he says publicly and what they've done. I would guess that anything that's not coming out on PC, in addition to the console version of Game Pass, is probably publisher decision and not Xbox. Because I have a feeling that if it was his call, he would be putting 100% of the titles on both platforms. But as far as like console to console exclusivity, until there's only one console released on any given generation, we're always going to have exclusive. That's just going to be the reality.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And just so, because I did pull it up, I don't know if it's QLock or QLOC. That's the company that ported your Automata on this go around. So I don't know if they took the build that they had from the original PC port and then reported it, or if they or what, but they are the company that is to thank for the additional fixes that are going to be in the Game Pass version. So I pulled up the info, so I wanted to make sure that I at least said it.
Very diligent.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. You're doing the work. Yeah. I mean, there's Game Pass is a phenomenal deal, and they're full steam ahead, and it's feels like it's causing Sony to accelerate some of their work as well, because they just announced the purchase of Evo, the fighting game tournament. The biggest fighting game tournament is now owned by Sony, and a new kind of a joint venture, RTS is the name of the company, which I thought was pretty massive news, because this is the largest fighting game event. I mean, obviously there's other the international things like that, but this is pretty big news. And I think it's Sony really trying to realize their vision of making that esports play, and they mentioned, hey, we're gonna let other consoles, games played on other consoles, no problem. I think it was funny. Nintendo right away came out and said, yeah, we're gonna continue evaluating every situation as it comes across, which was kind of a weird. I don't know if that was a little standoffish, but it's big news right there from Sony's standpoint, because they don't have the Game Pass equivalent. They have PlayStation Now, they have PlayStation Plus, but they don't have anything that delivers games on a monthly or fewer basis. So they have to start to look elsewhere. And I think going towards the esports and tournament route is an interesting start.
I think it's actually probably a pretty good idea. And the reason that I say that is that, like, we don't need our traditional console war. We had that. We had the console wars, right? So it is kind of nice that if we're sort of looking at things in terms of holistic platforms, that maybe if you're getting something, and I think there's going to be a swath of people who are going to say, well, I always got something different than PlayStation than Xbox. But theoretically, if you can play most of the same games on both of these and you're just more on the casual side, so to have a reason to sort of be more committed to one or the other, well, that's kind of the sort of thing where you might say, well, I'm actually really just interested in both, because this one has the tie-in with the connections and the events. And, Microsoft is just the all-inclusive everything in terms of me just wanting to play casual games on a regular basis. So it'll be really interesting to sort of see this divergence, right? Because I think that one of the things these companies have learned is that it's going to be really hard to be a success in being a copycat at this point, because people have a lot of choice in how to spend their time and money. And the thing I think of in general is the struggle with Mixer, right? And about how, one point, they said after putting all that money into it and after hiring all those folks to be part of it, I don't know if it's technically hired, but bringing them all on, to just turn around and say, you know what, this isn't working for us. We're going to try something different. That takes a lot of guts to do that, because a lot of people just stick in it. I mean, not to keep like blabbering, but I just think about games and like the sunk costs that people will put in to try to save a game that's failing.
Anthem,
Yeah.
which by the way is on the EA Play,
Which is
not
now
to
on
continue.
Xbox
Yeah,
Game Pass.
so that is now on. They also just EA just or Microsoft and EA in partnership just announced that it's coming to the PC. It's been on the console version of Game Pass for a while, but now they're also doing EA Play on the PC version of Game Pass, and Anthem is in there. But you know, the one thing that I first thought of is when Activision bought MLG Gaming, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Something like that,
And I mean, and you know, Major League Gaming, I felt like up until 2015 had a decent footprint that was actually noticeable and shrunk immediately after it. That's my opinion. I think that Sony wants to be the preeminent and the be all end all of fighting game choice as far as console goes. They generally have it. Like, you know, if you look at most games being played at Evo, they're being played on 2 PS4s or one PS4. They want to make sure that stays as a PlayStation thing. They want PlayStation to be the console that every fighting game championship or tournament is played on. And it's probably a good play. I mean, you know, you look at what Evo has been pushing in terms of viewership numbers as well as, you know, contender numbers, and they've been increasing steadily, especially over the last 3 years. So it's probably a good play for them. I have a feeling that I just hope that they do something with it. Right. Going back to what they did, what Activision did with MLG Gaming, which is, I don't think, very much. I would just like to see them do more than just continue what Evo was. You know, Evo was doing well, was continuing to do it well, despite some of the people that were helming it, which was probably holding it back. But, you know, it would be nice to see them actually expand it past where it already was.
I mean, it is just, again, interesting because you can sort of think about like how companies backed out of E3 and like all that kind of stuff to just sort of build their own brand in the space. And it is interesting because I think it's a good strategy, but like, what does this say for like these collective communities that are very, very different that come together, you know, a few times a year at these big events, like, you know, like the E3s, the PAX or something. A little less sure about what that means. Like, you might just get a bunch of different silos and, you know, you'll never ever meet a person that plays a fighting game if you don't play fighting games. No, I'm just kidding. But
Completely agree. And I think, I mean, I'm all in line with that thinking from Sony's standpoint. They need something. They're not the shooter. They're not the homo shooters right now. Maybe they can do some play for our JRPGs, but the fighting game route, I think, is smart. Well, let's move on. There's quite a bit of news this week. Like I said, it's like a mini E3 in good and bad ways. One of the bad ways is that there's layoffs at Activision Blizzard. With quite a few, and the numbers are kind of all over the place. I've heard anywhere from like 50 to 150 to 200, but there have been, and these aren't necessarily seasonal layoffs. They just kind of be. I mean, obviously, I think events were a part of it, but
I heard it was events and esports, right?
Events and esports. So there it is. The MLG.
I guarantee you that there was a lot of people in the MLG division that were probably affected by that one. Which, like, on one hand, is sure. This is the lagging budgetary effect. You know, if we, not that I'm going to spend a bunch of time talking about, you know, quarterly about how budgets work out and how, you know, they probably run on a specific fiscal year or whatever. But like, you know, what probably happened is that we had an operational budget. It was time to re-up it. And because of what happened with COVID last year, the budgets got decreased. And, you know, not that we need to try and justify it on their behalf, because I think that it's probably pretty short-sighted considering that we're about to see the opposite turnaround where we're about to see in-person events begin again. But that's the reality of what happened there.
It's such an interesting company because number one, it does have to answer to shareholders, right?
Yeah.
And they are just going to look for ways, and like it's almost like I mean, I'm sure that I don't know if this is I've never heard that this is official policy, but like it's almost like Netflix in the sense that like I don't know if you've heard about their policy that like the lower 10% of people supposedly get cut from Netflix, their staff every year, right?
Interesting.
And I don't know for a fact, but I do know that they do sort of cycle a lot in their sort of layoffs. Like I feel like we just had this conversation like maybe a year and a half ago. And in the meantime, Activision's having some of its biggest years up until at least the pandemic. I don't know what their financials look like right now. And it's still laying off people because again, at the end of the day, they have to answer to the people who are just driven by profits. And I think, kind of interesting to think about that in terms of like sort of not to like bring this, but it's kind of always on my mind, but just like the GameStop situation.
The GME situation, sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess there's like no real correlation there, except for I think people are starting to realize how fickle some of that stuff can be if they're not careful.
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah. Couple more news bites here. Obviously there was a Square Enix event this week, and they debuted the next game in Life is Strange series, known as True Colors, which looks really cool. I have not played
not episodic. Was the big one? Was the big part of that?
Exactly. Yeah. So I have never played Life is Strange game. But every time a new one comes out, I get more and more interested in diving in. And this is, I think, the first one that I really kind of sat down and went over the story behind it, the gameplay mechanics and the reasoning behind it. And it's essentially, so for those that don't know, Life is Strange has sort of like this modern, but with some supernatural element twist in it type of series. And they were kind of like this episodic adventure game type of thing for the first. There's been I think this is the fourth one actually for the first few iterations. This is gonna be the first one they're launching as one big complete package in September. I think September 10th. But it's an intriguingly. It's a very forward-thinking series. It's a very inclusive and accessible series for the gameplay wise. Everything just seems to work, and it's got this growing popularity every time a new one comes out. Like you get more and more fans, which happens with games a lot, but like new people I feel like are coming into the Life is Strange series with every iteration. It's not just like more adventure game players. Now it's like dad in Midwest Michigan is like, this might be kind of different than me playing, Fortnite or Mario all the time. I want to try something new. So visually the game looks pretty cool. It stars a character who can Deck Nine is the developer for this one. It stars a character named Alex Chen, who's played by Erica Mori. She has the ability to kind of almost like an empath. She can feel the sort of the strongest emotions of other people and uses that to find out why her brother mysteriously died. So there's kind of this cool, like I said, cool supernatural-ish twist. I'm knee deep into Control again, so I'm into that sort of supernatural, real life X-Files type of thing. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Have either of you played a Life is Strange game in the past?
I've not actually.
I have not, but I agree with you. It looks really cool. And I was just gonna also add that like that's really every small small is wrong, but like every game developer's dream when they have like a game that's not necessarily going to be a Fortnite or something, right? It's just like, okay, well, we're just going to continue. It's like nurturing the series, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. Like, I think sometimes we just think about games and, I'll mention a certain game that has the word cyber and punk in the title, but, but, we put so much stake into wow, this has got to be a big blowout, big buzzworthy success early on. And then it just fizzles so quickly, whereas so much more sustainable over time to, okay, we're going to put this out and, get people interested in it, and then more and more people sort of share it and spread the word. I mean, I'm sure they would like everybody, like millions and millions of people, to pick up game on game day, but but if you can't get that, then like, you know, and especially if you really believe in something and you just say like, you know what, there's a certain type of person who likes this and we're going to help it grow and reach the people that it should reach. So I think that's really cool. And it does look awesome.
Yes, it does. Another game that they announced, they gave the first full title to that Project Athia game that they had kind of announced during the PS5 initial gaming announcement stuff. It's going to be called Forspoken. So just to give you guys a definition of what Forspeak is, because I don't know if Forspoken is an actual word. Forspeak means it's a verb, to cast a bad spell over, to bewitch, especially by a moderate praise. So, yeah, I looked it up to figure out what the name meant, but it looks pretty cool.
The trailer that they dropped looked all right. You know, I remember, was it during the State of Play or was it during Game Awards when they first dropped their teaser trailer? And it was just that kind of mountain view of the really quick movement. And they kind of expanded on that in a nice way, gave an actual character name, and kind of showed some different angles and different looks of what appeared to be, you know, if not actual gameplay, almost gameplay of what it can, what we might be able to expect it to look like, which looked all right. I mean, you know, obviously there was like almost nothing that we really saw of it. It's still a teaser, or at least I would still consider this as a teaser in my opinion, except for the fact that it had something that you could argue was gameplay footage in it. But it, you know, I'm still curious about it. You know, one thing that I've learned over time is that I have become even more modest in my expectations and hopes and dreams of any game that I have never played myself at this point. So,
well, it stars Ella Balinska as Frey Holland, and I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here, but yeah, she's sort of this this person that seems to be dropped into a fantasy world. She's wearing tennis shoes, so I can tell that she's from modern times. And there's a big freaking dragon in the back. But she has powers that are somehow awakened. She's got this voice that's sort of speaking to her, and there's this sort of fantasy adventure. I don't know. I don't know enough about the game to really understand what it is, but let me see if I can find. Here we go. Here's some actual 3D traverse. The traversal looks really cool.
I mean, it's one of those things where like I feel like there's other games that have done this in the past where if you nail the movement and the traversal well enough, and even if everything else is only okay, it can still be a success, just because they did that one thing so well. Not that I think that this is what's going to happen here, but it's certainly what I'm led to believe based on just what their choice of their trailers are, because the one thing that they really led on is the traversal, and I mean, because it looked really good. So I'm assuming that they saw it and was like, okay, this is the best thing that we have to show, so this is what we're going to put in the trailer. Obviously, we saw like a little bit of spell casting in there, throwing down the roots and stuff like that. But you know, games have survived on nailing one thing really, really well, and then have iterated on sequels in order to succeed. Not that this is a direct comparison, but Assassin's Creed managed to do well enough on the initial, even though it was in comparison to sequels kind of poor. I mean, Assassin's Creed 1 was kind of like a boring game in many respects, but Assassin's Creed 2, in my opinion at least, was a rousing success, almost like across the board. And that's because it did one thing really well, which was interacting and navigating a world, and did everything else well enough to say, okay, well, we're going to make a sequel, and then it just blew everything else out of the water. So hopefully Forspoken does all of the things at once. I mean, we always hope that, right? You know, we all want to play good games, but
she is the actor from the new Charlie's Angels movie. So she's
okay. I did not know that.
Cool.
I'm gonna throw a couple kind of last second. Maybe this last one right here. Sony revealed the next PlayStation VR controllers. The next PlayStation.
That's right.
headset that they're working on. The new controllers look like, and I'm gonna share. Let me share I'll share that screen here too. They look like what a lot of other VR companies are doing with their controllers. Obviously,
and Del, you're a current PSVR user, correct?
Yes, I am. Yep.
And what is your opinion as a current PSVR user?
I love going this direction because you no longer have to have a camera to kind of find because you use a PlayStation. These are the PlayStation 3 Move controllers that you're using. So they're already 10-year-old technology right now.
That's wild.
And they work, but the camera always only had a certain range that you were kind of in. So if you turned around, you were out of range from the camera and the game would freak out. You don't have to worry about that with this. This I feel will actually give you more freedom to be able to do the movements and stuff. Yeah, it's also going to depend on the field of view that it can pick up these controllers. But, I'm not the sort of the haptic and adaptive stuff. The adaptive stuff I'm not super crazy about. The haptic could be kind of cool because you can actually start to feel some vibrations of doing certain things. But that 3D space now I think is going to be a big advantage, a big improvement. And I've used controllers like this on PC. We have a Vive and an Oculus at work that we've used in the past that have these style of controllers, and they're way better than what the Move did. So
obviously, hand tracking is a huge. I mean, the accuracy is almost incomparable. I'm assuming that the PSVR does it by IR, off of an IR camera that's on the whatever the camera is called in the PlayStation universe. I'm not sure.
The PlayStation Eye cam. No.
Oh God, I don't even know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's
side of it there. Yeah.
It would have been extremely concerning if Sony did not announce that they were introducing new technology for whatever the sequel to PSVR is. So it's kind of weird that they delayed this from the original announcement of the sequel of PSVR. But at least they did it.
I think it's what's interesting is that they just announced earlier at the beginning of this month, they just announced that they have a new VR headset. And now just a couple of weeks later, they're saying, by the way, here's our controllers, which look pretty final. I don't want to say finalized, but they're pretty in depth with the technology. Yeah. It really leads me to believe that their next gen VR headset is actually closer to reality, closer to
completion.
Completion than we may have thought before, because they really made a strong push to get VR onto the PlayStation 4, and they don't want to abandon those developers. And there's a lot of great stuff that's out there and already bubbling up. And VR is still right now. VR has gone for PCs. VR is really moving towards the enterprise side of things, and so Sony people don't want to use the phone VR stuff because that's kind
bad.
That's bad. It's gone. It's it relies on your phone. The Quest 2 I think is a pretty cool product. I know JJ loves his Quest 2. So they're doing something really smart with that, and I think Sony sees that opportunity. It says we really want to get something in front of consumers. Let us be the other consumer market, because I think the PSVR up until recently, or maybe it still is, was the top selling VR headset in the world. I mean, the PSVR was blowing everything out of the water. They would be smart, I would say, in this case, to make the PSVR 2 or whatever they're going to call it be PC compatible. I believe there are only USB ports in the back of the PS5 that I have upstairs. I'll take a look. So that leads me to believe that
would be an incredible move, but also one that I would expect out of Xbox and not PlayStation.
Right.
But if Sony were to do that, I think that does put their stake in the ground as really kind of being the leaders in VR.
I mean, listen, if they want to sell out the PSVR like they've been selling out PS5s, that's the move you make. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see all this technology growing, right?
Yes.
I remember my first VR experience. I get the motion sickness from the VR sometimes after a little while. So, and really because because a lot of it has to do with I forget how you describe it, just the frames not flowing as quickly as much as well as they should. And so I remember this is a couple years ago now. Well, it wasn't my first experience because the first ones are really, really original technology. But I was driving like a race car, like an event center, but it was like all in the VR space. And I was on this thing for maybe 3 minutes, and I was so sick that I had to like go sit in the bathroom for like 30 minutes, like after, just until I felt better, until I felt like I wasn't going to be sick everywhere. So
yeah, I mean, I think mine was actually at PAX East 2011 or 2012.
Me too. Yeah,
with a Dev Kit 1 or a Dev Kit 2, I forget which one it was at that time. And it was a racing sim. And I will say that like the first time that you're in like a race car and you turn your head and the camera goes with you, it is A, disorienting, and B, nauseating, especially if the screen tears at all. But it's amazing how far it's come, and the fact that I'm very glad that Sony is continuing with it, because they saw that they had a chance at it. They took the market share with the PSVR 1, and I just feel like it could have so easily gone the other way, where they just said, hey, it did okay, but not well enough, and so we're not going to pursue it, because there wasn't that many exclusives on it, honestly. And so like I could have easily seen it drop, but very excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, and we'll kind of finish the news portion. But I did want to mention, with more and more people staying home, I'm working from home almost indefinitely. A lot of the companies here in Michigan, the automotive industry is now shifting to work from home, even though buildings are opening back up here. That at-home experience, for instance, arcades, escape rooms, the stuff, things you can do in VR pretty well, I think is a perfect time for this, because now there's a little bit more expendable cash because people aren't driving as much, insurance rates are going down, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like it's a better time to introduce a VR headset. And my kiddo was telling me, because they're back in school now, although their school just sent us an email today, after not even a full week, there's already been a case in her class.
Oh, no.
COVID. So they're all back quarantined for the week. But they're okay. They understand the remote stuff. But she did mention, they've been doing the gym classes, and they're supposed to do gym outdoors to make it safer for everybody. But it was wet, raining, and it was kind of nasty out there, so they couldn't do it. They instead held it indoors, and they used Dance Dance Revolution, because you don't have to touch anything. You're just you have your shoes on, you're kicking stuff or jumping on stuff, and they use the Kinect. And they use the Kinect. You don't have to touch anything. You can exercise. You can do stuff. She's telling me, she's like, "Oh, we played this game." And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember having that game on our Kinect." And I thought, now is the time for technology to really come out. VR. I think it actually is a great time for VR. It's a great time for the motion sensing stuff, because the hands-free things, because people are a little more worrisome of touching stuff that other people are touching. So. I'm really hopeful and interested in the possibilities of new tech with these new consoles, especially because they are so powerful. Some of the cool things that come out of it. So to me, kudos for Sony, for continuing the PSVR, because a lot of folks thought it would be dead, but it's not, and they're going all in. So I think it's great. Okay, let's get into what we've been playing. We could round out the end of the show with all the cool things we've been playing. I'm going to go with our returning guest, Whitney. What have you been playing, Whitney? Tell us.
Okay, so most of all lately, I've been playing 3 games. I always play Apex, and I guess to be perfectly fair, like I've played slightly less Apex than I've played in the past, which means I've probably, I don't know, I've put at least 1,000 hours into this game. I think like 1,800. I think I counted at one point. So play a lot of Apex, but I've been playing slightly less, which means I may be only putting in like 10 hours this week or something. I don't know. And so one game that I really got into, I don't know. Did we talk? I don't remember whether we talked about this over Twitter. Oh my God. I played so much Valheim, like so much. I fell into the Valheim rabbit hole and I stuck there, and I was there. And honestly, I'd still be playing right now, except for the death box mechanic is hard when you're playing solo. Okay. It's very like the Souls games and things, when you die, it's like really, really difficult to like go back sometimes and get your belongings and whatever. And twice now I have just spent days, literally days, like doing like the work to make great gear in my game, and just like lost it in some place where it's like I can recover it, but I need people with me. And the cool thing about Valheim is that it's a solo game. I'm sorry, that you have your own server, but it's really meant to be played as like a group, right?
Yeah.
So you have your own little personal server, but then like a friend or whoever it is will set up their main server. And for me, it's my boyfriend, and he has set up the server. And you just invite your friends to play, and it holds so many people, and then you can go in there and you build your amazing little fort, and it's very collaborative, but then you can build your little house way out where you want to. But I love this game so much because it's very lo-fi. And it certainly has some bug fixes that it needs to like deal with. But it was like 5 people who like built this game on Unity. It's actually insane that they've made something that's just so
still in early access too, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This game's not even done. Like, and it has 6 million people. 6
That's
million.
crazy.
And I think last time I checked, it was a 10 out of 10 on Steam. Like
Wow.
what? And to me, it's just like. Because basically I saw someone whose opinion that I trust, who's like picky about games, like putting a lot of hours into it on Steam. And then my friend started talking about it, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll play it. And then perhaps my boyfriend actually gifted me one of it. And I very much went from, I guess I'll play it, to just like losing myself in it. Right. Because there's just so much. Well, and it's that like, sort of like, it's sort of that like I don't know, Sims or Minecraft. Yeah, very inviting for a survival game. Like you don't die when you're out of starvation. You're just you die and you're not gone for good. It's not like you're like not able to come back. You can recover your death box. The problem for me is that sometimes my death box was in a place where it's just too hard. It's just because you come back naked, basically, right?
Sure.
So like you got this character running around in its underwear trying to like go get your like wolf pelt gear or whatever that you spent. You had to go to the mountains and mine all the silver in order to make it, and like all this kind of stuff. And it sounds really tedious, because to be quite honest, it is, but it's that kind of like mind-numbing, relaxing tedious. Like very much just like The Sims or like Minecraft, obviously, which seems to take a big inspiration. But the thing I love about it is this procedurally generated, right? And I think when this game is full and when it has like the full level of content on the map, it's just going to feel endless how much you can explore. And there's going to probably be so much, and especially with it being so popular, it wouldn't even surprise me if they just keep investing in it and building it. Like, it just seemed to me like, in early access, they're like, we just want to see if people like our game. And all of a sudden they have a hit on their hands. And they're like, we can do
unbelievable.
so much more with this, right? But if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's one thing that I'm terrified to jump into, because it's been the one game, and I may own it. I actually may own it now. I don't know. I buy a lot of things after I've been drinking. It's the kind of game where I'm terrified to start, because it feels like something I will get
sucked in.
Completely sucked. Yeah. It is a Dolly gets sucked into style game, where it's like a little bit of work, a little bit of just mindless doing, and then to me those are the best kinds of experiences, because I don't have to. There's like less thinking. And
don't talk to me about the first week I ever played Stardew Valley, because like that was
there you go.
That was a rough time.
Yeah,
there you go.
The sailing mechanic is really fun. The music, there's something about the music that is just, it feels so good while you're playing it. What was I about to say? Somebody posted on there that they saw someone kill one of the last bosses by raising wolves, and that's absolutely, you can totally do stuff like that. It's so funny. It's just, and you can do it. You can like breed these packs of wolves, and I think people are still finding out what's possible in this game, and I think even the developers are still finding out what's possible. If you're like into this kind of thing, I mean, you can look on YouTube for like the builds that people are making.
Wild.
I heard that people are building castles, they're building things in like beautiful swamp houses, and then also just the gameplay, like people getting surprised by things they didn't understand were in the game. I don't want to spoil it, but like bad things happen at night, so and some of the bosses are really hard to take down if you're not prepared for them, but it isn't a game where I struggle with it is like I wanted to solo it, because I just felt like I was we had a lot of people that were moving at different rates, and I was like, I'm just going to take my time to just like explore and like do the things and like figure out all crafting recipes. So I did it on my own server, and all of a sudden, like I'm like all the way up in the mountains and getting attacked by wolves, and like I'm just like, oh well, in order to get back to the mountains, you got to drink your potion, and then they come out at night mostly.
Yeah.
You got to drink your potions, and you have to make sure that you have the gear on, and like you have to make sure you've eaten, but you have to make sure you've eaten good food. So it's complicated. They actually have something. I'm just like talking about this, but like a team that comes in, they call themselves the Body Recovery Squad. That if you lose your corpse in some place that's really hard to get to, like you can track down this group of people and they will help you revive.
Took the Elite Dangerous route.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so cool.
Which is cool. And I think that's like also part of like the community element, right? Which is beautiful in and of its own, So I love it, but I have like this like weird love-hate relationship with it. Just because you lose your gear once and you're like, you're like, okay, this is frustrating. You lose it twice and you're just like, I'm gonna lose my mind if this happens again.
Awesome.
But yeah,
I'm gonna get into it. I know a couple of the folks on staff have been playing it, so
I think what's fascinating to me is the fact that like we have games that manage to do both things, or like one or the other, which is like I think of Valheim. It's still in early access, yet it breaks out and has 6 million concurrent. And then I think about one of the breakout successes of last year, which was Hades, which had been in early access for 9 months, or maybe longer. I personally played it mostly in early access and not as much after the 1.0 release, but it didn't see its breakthrough success, whether it's from general population or it's probably compared to Valheim, its streamer numbers until after its 1.0 release. And it's just so interesting to me, the fact that like why does it happen that way, that I everybody wants their success probably anytime that they can get it. I don't think that they're necessarily curating it of like I don't think that Supergiant Games was like, all right, listen, we're not going to make sure don't make it too appealing or push too much marketing early. Like, right. I think Valheim was just a flash pan of just like it just caught on and spread like wildfire. I think it was mostly a coincidence. Not obviously it's very good because you have so many people playing it, but it's just fascinating to me that like what differentiates between a game that flash pans while it's in early access versus one that's after it hits its 1.0. Well, it's fascinating.
I might speculate that one thing that Valheim does is it encourages collaborative play, like very, very specifically. So it is kind of just a requirement that if you want to enjoy the game, you have to.
So it spreads naturally faster as opposed to a solo player game.
Yeah, it's like a pyramid scheme, right? You're just like, come join my. No, I'm just kidding. you and 10 friends join my server, and then you tell your 10 friends. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but
no, I think that's definitely actually part of it. I mean, they're. Hades is a single player experience, and there's a certain zeitgeist about playing it while other people are playing a solo player game, as opposed to a game like Valheim, which is literally get 10 people on your server and play it. And by the way, everybody has to buy it right now. And at that point, you don't want to miss out because everybody's picking it up. So there's that kind of feedback loop where everybody's buying it, and that single player games don't have.
It's cool.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on the other game that I've been playing.
Yeah, yes, please.
This is actually a game that's been around for decades, and I just picked it up. Well, not the series has been.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? It's chess, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to write that down. I'm like, wait.
It's been around for a year or two.
But the Civilization series has been around for so long. And I just got it when it was free on the Epic Games Store.
Okay.
Because I'd seen this game in the past, and
was it Civ 6 on the Epic Games Store?
Civ 6 was on the Game Store. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd seen Civ in the past before, and I think I had just seen like the religious, like somebody battling the religious battles, and I was very confused, and I was like, I don't think this game's for me, right? But then I got it was in the Epic Games Store, and again, this collaborative play is like sort of a theme right here for me, because my friend from the Gamer invited me to play, and so I played with him, and I was like, this game is like, oh, actually, I think what had happened is is he invited me to play, and I was like, well, I can't like not know what I'm doing at all. So then I went and like played some games, and then you can just sit there and you're just like moving these little characters around this like, you know, all these little hexagons, and you're like, all of a sudden you're just like, how has it been 7 hours?
Yeah.
But so I've gotten fairly good, not like good, like I'm not competing competitions or anything, but I can play D&D games. But this sort of led to me, like when Sid Meier released a book a few months ago, on a whim, I was like, I wonder if he'll let me interview him. And that was something I did, is I interviewed Sid Meier.
That's really cool.
Man, so cool.
People are really nice if you just like are enthusiastic. And I actually told him I just got my first deity victory that night, or the night before I talked to him, and he told me he was very impressed. So
nice. I picked it up on the Switch because I'm like, it was like $14 on Switch or something. I'm like, oh, perfect. This will be a great game to have on the Switch. Pick it up, plug it in, get a couple of the update going, and like 2 hours later, I'm like, I'm like knee deep into the game. 2 hours later, it's like, oh, by the way, now it's free on Epic Game Store. I'm like, another free game. Yeah, I will say that it's the best time to get games right now.
It's crazy that they actually managed to get it onto Switch. Honestly, like it's like it just feels so expansive and massive.
And the updates keep rolling through.
When you're playing it on like on a PC, and then
I will tell you that a friend of mine told me that he played on Switch, and then he ended up like getting it on his Mac computer. It's a powerful Mac, right?
Yeah.
And he just says, Whitney, I just thought it was a slow game. I had no idea that it like actually works this fast. Like,
it is a little
slower on Switch. But I like got it on my phone. Like I was in the airport and I was so bored, and I was just like, I'll pay $20 to get like Civ on my phone. And I just sat there and played Civ instead of scrolling Facebook or whatever else I was doing.
Good for you. Good for you. All right, Taylor, what have you been playing, my friend?
I will start with
chess. Also chess.
It's
an early access, actually. Still,
for the last 2,000 years. No, I'll start with what I played previously first, which was I dove very, very hard into Loop Hero.
Everybody. So also another game that's blowing up.
Yeah, that one's zeitgeisted too. So I have a 5-week-old child, and
holy cow! Congratulations!
Thank you. But Loop Hero,
she loves playing Loop Hero.
She loves Loop Hero so much. But no, Loop Hero came out at just like the perfect time, because it, for anybody that doesn't know what Loop Hero is, I don't know, God, how do you even describe like the amalgamation of games that it is? It's a roguelite, auto battler, RPG, card deck, tile builder. It's an awesome, really great little game. And like basically it creates a tactical loop that your character automatically progresses around, and it has 5 inventory slots, and it has a level, and it has stats, and there's 3 different classes that you can play as, and you get to choose. You place tiles that determine if monsters spawn. You place other tiles in the other regions that are not the loop to determine if you get additional stats, and you fight monsters, you get gear, you summon a boss, you fight the boss, and you repeat until you beat the game. But there's this perfect amount of downtime. So like for me, of like when I'm, for instance, caring for a child, where like I just only need one hand to equip inventory slots, and then I just move on from there. And then the rest of the time is I just hit the space bar or press right click, and it just makes my dude continue to go. Like when you're battling, you don't do anything. Like everything is just automatic. It's just all time based. Half the characters or half the classes are just attacking. And it's just everything is determined by the stats on the page. That's it. Even aside from that, I would have gotten sucked into this game even if those circumstances weren't there. It's really, really good. Let me pull it.
I guess it was made using Game Maker software too, which is really funny.
Impressive, honestly, because like it's so good in so many different ways. And I will say, part of me is like amazed by what you can do in Game Maker, and the other part of me is like, if I looked at the if you look at the animation of when the dude's going around in the loop, it's literally like stick figure-esque. What's most impressive is just like how good it feels with how simple and simplistic some of the animations and graphics are. But there's plenty of games that we could say that about. But the rest of the art is honestly wonderfully pixelated. In all the nice ways. But I mean, I bought that. I don't know when I bought the game, but I dropped like 70 hours into it in the course of like 9 days. At least that's what I think. But it's like I said, it's a partial idle game. So like you rack up the time and like before you know it. And like I remember I forget which streamer I was watching when it was like all of a sudden like it was 2 hours later. It's like I honestly don't remember what happened. That's like I've just been playing the game. I don't remember. But then I started my other game is that I started my playthrough. I'm not exactly sure why this game in particular, but I started Death Stranding.
Nice.
I picked it. Yeah, I picked it up at some point during one of the sales. And I don't know why I was just like I want to go from Loop Hero to Death Stranding.
PC, right? PC.
Yeah, I'm playing it on PC because my other option was PS4, Xbox One, and my PC is gonna beat both of those out in terms of performance. So that's what I went with. And I would probably say I'm sure my Steam profile puts it up more because like it's been running for the past, I think, like 6 hours, just because like I alt tabbed at one point when I had to do something and haven't gone back. But I'd probably say I put about 10 to 12 hours into it so far because it's a decently long game. And it's slow overall. Like it's a slow, you're not going to speed through it at all. But I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I'm not going to over speak on Kojima games because everybody's done it probably more eloquently than I have. But what's grabbed me the most is that there's certain cinema-esque scenes that they build into this game that are truly impressive. The timing is exquisitely done. Where you'll hit a specific story it'll then pan the camera out, play a specific song. It even just the way that it displays what the song is, who the song's by. It's just incredible care is done for those particular moments that are just really, really nice to experience. And then you get back to it. And it's like, oh, I'm a courier, and I have to pack my extremely tall bag line for some. Like I remember, this was actually earlier today. I was packing my cargo, and it got so tall that I couldn't leave the facility that I was in because the cargo was hitting the ceiling as I was exiting, and then it would fall off. So I had to go outside, put stuff on the ground, and then go back inside, and then carry it back out, and then pack it all up again. And it's just like you go from these like incredible cinema quality experiences, then it's like, oh yeah, I'm packing stuff up and I can't leave anymore because it's too tall. I don't know. It's a fascinating thing. I mean, the story is completely ridiculous. The name of the game is Death Stranding. It's about where the like boundary between life and death breaks down, right? And one of the first characters you meet, his name is Die Hard Man. The next person you meet is Dead Man, and then it's just like I don't know, it is distilled Kojima-esque stuff, but it's a lot of fun to play. I will probably finish this game for inexplicable reasons.
Yeah. Stefan says it best. I sort of want to play it for the really weird world, story, and character.
Yeah.
Listen, I would originally say but the gameplay, but I'll tell you what, you encounter the enemies are like, there's human enemies, which they call mules because they steal cargo, right? And then the otherworldly enemies are called BTs. I don't know why they're called BTs yet, actually, or if they explained it, I missed it. But anyway, so they're like from the world of death, and they're trying to take all the people that are alive for whatever reason. I'll figure it out eventually. I'm sure.
Work through it. Just work through it, man. It's okay.
Yeah, but like you can't see those supernatural enemies. Like you will encounter them, but you can't see them. And that part is like, it's almost like Silent Hill-esque. Like it starts raining. The rain is like acid rain, except what it does is age everything that it touches. And so like as soon as it starts raining, you know that you're like in their territory. And I don't know, it's extremely like nerve-wracking. Like it's extremely intense. And so like you've got this one part where you're like, I wish I wasn't hauling cargo, but it's like if you weren't hauling cargo, then you literally wouldn't have anything to do. And I don't know, it's like a weird crux where like I thought that I would hate it more than I do. I actually kind of don't mind it so much. It's the only complaint about it is that it's just kind of weird because you're just like this guy with cargo that's like 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet tall, and you're just like sprinting because you at some point picked up an exoskeleton, and you're like, yeah, it's totally normal. It's fine. I'm just gonna also, you know, in the past 10 hours, I've run from like Virginia and I'm halfway across Illinois. And also I have no vehicle. I just ran there. It's easy. No problem. But yeah, I don't know. It's an extremely interesting game, and you know, it got talked to death last year, is that when it came out? Please tell me it was 2019? Okay.
No, it's 2019. Yeah, 2019.
Fuck.
I like that you're playing it just in time to have an opinion about it that is no longer relevant in the world. No,
yeah, well, honestly, like I'm actually kind of. I'm actually kind of glad in that too, because like,
she's the one who played Civ 6.
Because like I actually actively tried not to follow too much because they're so like these types of games are so story specific that like if I knew too much about it, that part of that experience would like be basically void for me. Like obviously I picked it up when it was on sale, probably quite a while ago, and I'm still going to go through it. So, you know, I'm happy to, you know, I'm not bringing it back up for any other reason other than the fact that, you know, it's just what I happen to be playing. So that's enough for me.
I was just kidding. I hoped you were like, I was just totally joking.
No, you
can have any opinion.
Fine.
You know, it's just sort of related, but like somebody that I work with at the Gamer, you know, we're both contractors. Actually, he's an editor. He just played Titanfall 2 for the first time, the campaign, and he's just talking about having gone through that and just like seeing that, just like, yeah, this game is several years old, but you're discovering it. You know what I mean?
Dude, Titanfall 2 campaign is something super special, especially in terms of the first-person shooter, you know, single player campaign attached to a multiplayer games as a service style thing, right? Yeah. And like as popular as, or I almost made it sound like Titanfall 2 multiplayer was still super popular. It's niche, and it has a really strong specific support to it. But like, I want to play a game that was Titanfall 2 single player, except like 4 times as long. Except that like it probably except it probably couldn't exist that way because like it was as strong as it was because of its brevity and how well manicured it was. I just wish that it could exist longer because it was incredible.
Yeah,
and it spawned the world of Apex Legends.
Yeah,
that is true.
That's always possible.
That is true.
I don't know if you know this. These are all the icons of all the different all the different
ultimates.
Yeah. So kind of cool, right? I painted all those. Every time there's a new one, I have to paint another one. But after a while, I was like, gosh, this takes so long to paint.
Yeah, I remember talking about that.
They keep releasing new legends. So
I have a little bit more space at the bottom of the mirror, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess they got to
pretty soon they'll be on the ceilings and on the windows.
Right.
I have been playing an even older game than any.
Oh boy.
No, I started playing. I'm playing a couple games for review that I can't talk
about.
Parcheesi. No. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I had played it, and I thought, you know, it was on. I think it was on sale. There's a Ubisoft sale going on all over the place. And I wanted it on Switch. I figured since that's that's a little device that I have with me the majority of the day, because I'll be at my office here working. Don't worry, my boss isn't watching this, so it's fine. I'll be at the office here working, and then when you're waiting for a meeting to start, it's not like I can run over and go play PlayStation or something. I'll just reach over, I'll grab the Switch. Instead of surfing my phone, I'll play a game for like 5 minutes, or I'll like open up a game or something and flip through there, and in between meetings on a break, whatever, waiting for coffee to heat up. Scott Pilgrim is a great game.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, Playland says it correctly. Fantastic sprite art. And I picked it up because with the Ninja Turtles game news from last week, with the new Ninja Turtles game coming out, the Brawler, and that got me super excited because I love those old Ninja Turtle the TMNT Brawler games, and figured I want to get one that's nicely just as highly rated, a more modern take. And Scott Pilgrim is pretty great. It's a great looking game. I didn't realize how my traditional brawler style gameplay doesn't quite work. And I don't know if this is just the Switch version or if it's probably the game in general. The hit detection, because the characters are a specific size. It's not like in a Ninja Turtle game where you have a lot more like reach with Donatello's bow staff or a sword or something. You have to kind of be up close with some of these attacks, and I'm doing a very poor job of judging proximity. And I had to and the levels are long. They're not short brawler stages. They're huge stages, and you have the overworld map and everything. I went through that first stage 3 times before I finally completed it. And I had to like level up. Obviously, you can level up 2-3 times each time you play the stage. And I think I was finally at like level 6 before I was able to complete that stage, because I kept dying and kept getting slaughtered, and realizing that my old method of how I play brawlers doesn't quite work here, because it's a little more methodical and with some of the light RPG elements broken up into there. So yeah, I was horrible at first, but I'm really digging it. It's just a charming little game. So glad they put it back out. It was on sale for like $10 or something, and I had a bunch of like eShop coins or whatever they're called saved up, so it ended up being like next to nothing for me. So yeah. Scott Pilgrim. That's all I really can.
I didn't play that. I mean, like, I love the movie. I had like there's like graphic novels, right? Like, and holy cow, they're just so fun, right? So,
Totally.
But I've never played the game, and now I feel like I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's my first time too. So I'm digging it. So, and that is it. That is, we are just tad over an hour, but we made it through on a Friday night. We had a bunch of folks have been chiming in, chatting, listening, saying hello. Taylor, Whitney, super awesome to have the both of you on the SideQuest tonight. Forget everybody else that's normally on the show. Y'all have been a complete joy to chat. Let us know where we can find you.
It has been so lovely catching up with you. It has
Definitely.
just been way too long. Let's not wait 10 years till the next time we do this again.
Agreed. See, people are already saying magnificent show, nice watching, just getting better and better. Or the fewer we have of the regulars, the better and better the shows. Don't
just
tell. Just saying. Whitney, where can people find you? And please follow Whitney on her Twitch and on her Twitter, because it's awesome. Where can they find you?
Yes. I write for The Gamer, although I haven't been writing quite as much recently, but you can find my work on there. I actually just read all the stories. We have a lot of great writers.
Gamers are really cool. So I know a few of the folks on there, a lot of great folks.
Twitch, like Lumbago, LUMBA3GO. I had to read that off the screen, though I know it.
Even though it's I do that too. How do I spell my name? Yeah. DALI.
But I'll be streaming. I'm pretty sure on Sunday I'll be doing a Civ stream, so that'll be fun with some friends.
Nice.
Probably, I think we've been doing noon ESTs. So if you want to stop by, or just drop a follow, and whenever I'm on, right? And then Twitter. I'll be on the twits with opinions here and there. Do people call it the twits? Did I just make that up?
The twits. I like it. The twits. That's good.
But it's just Whitney Mears. So.
Excellent. Yep, just like the name Whitney Mears. Awesome. And I'll post it in the comments as well. Taylor, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Taylor Bliss. I think technically I actually do have T Bliss on Twitch, although I think the last time that I created content on there was a few years ago, and it was probably me doing something for a very, very particular reason for a friend of mine. So mostly just on Twitch. And honestly, I think probably the most prolific thing that I've been doing recently is showing up on the SideQuest. So just keep watching this show, and you'll find me again.
So I'm gonna make sure was it T Bliss or Taylor Bliss on Twitch?
Taylor Bliss.
Taylor Bliss. There you go. I'll add that banner.
Thanks so much to the person who said that they dropped the follow. I really, really appreciate all the love.
Follow Taylor as well. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
sure.
Cool.
Yeah, Taylor Bliss on Twitter, T Bliss on Twitch, and you'll see a go live notification at some point in the next 3 years.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, the both of you. You can find me at Dolly Demovsky. You can find us at sidequesting.com. I think we're SideQuesting TV on Twitch. I believe is what it is, SideQuesting TV.
Yes.
But and this has been it. It's been a fantastic evening. We will everybody stay safe, wear a mask, protect yourselves, have a good weekend, and we'll see you all in the next episode of The Side.
Bye, everyone.
See you, everybody. Bye.